It is indeed the 12th day of April 2022. Good morning. This is KBC News Check and thanks for making time. Of course, here at News Check, we endeavor to ensure that you are kept afloat with all the latest happening in the country soon as they appear or as soon as they happen. Thank you so much for making time. My name is Njue, and our sign language interpreter for this show will be Susan Thoku. We have 2 hours. In the first hour, we are going to be looking at matters politics, or the politics of the day. And talking about politics, a lot is happening in the country, despite the several challenges that we have, including the drought situation, the battered economy, the effects of COVID-19, and the politics and the campaigns that are in the country. So we have a very interesting first hour, and in the second hour, it's based on what happened yesterday. Professor George Magoha yesterday announced that all the 1.2 million candidates who sat for the Kenya Certificate of Primary Education and released the results 2 weeks ago are all going to be placed in secondary schools, and the process has already started. Some schools experiencing a lot of interest, but we will be talking about that a little bit later. And as always, all the latest happening, we are following up also on the nomination. We'll be getting our reporter Achola Simon from Busia with the latest update on the ODM nominations. We also have a very own JJ Curia, who is following up on the Kenya Kwanza. They are supposed to be holding a presser any moment from now, and we'll be heading there as soon as they do so. Of course, there are other events happening around the clock, and you can be kept afloat by visiting our social media platform. That said, let's delve straight into our first conversation. A lot has happened in politics, and joining me now in studio on my immediate left, he is an advocate of the High Court of Kenya. Glad to have him because he is going to help us understand some of the politics in coalitions and others. He is also a lecturer at the local universities. We have a law lecturer in our universities here, and also a UDA analyst. You will tell us all about an analyst. We've had a strategist, now we have an analyst, an UDA analyst. So he will be telling us more about that. And joining me on my extreme left, karibu sana, is Alex Kindake Malova, who is a politician, and he will also help us put things into perspective when you talk about politics here in the Kenya. Gentlemen, karibuni sana.
Asante.
First things first, what we're expecting the Deputy President, William Ruto, to have a presser. And one of the key things we expect him to address is the issue of National Assembly Speaker Justin Muturi, who decided to show his presidential ambitions, or we will wait and see how that pans out. But he decided to join Kenya Kwanza. Gobson, you're an advocate of the High Court of Kenya. The Speaker of the National Assembly, the third in command in the country, should be a symbol of neutrality or impartiality, but we've seen now he has decided to take sides. What does the law say to begin with?
Asante sana. Thank you, Troy, for inviting me to this show. And I want to say hi to Kenyans wherever they are. To start with your question, you have put it correctly. He's the third in line in terms of power hierarchy in this country. And then the other aspect is that there is the office he holds and what it portends to Kenyans. That is also something we need to look into. Now, we are informed that he has joined Kenya Kwanza, which is a move he's making. I think what has compelled him to do that is because of interests. Interest is the time to secure your interest. First, before he was a speaker, he was a politician, and he can't stick to being speaker throughout and lose his livelihood in future in terms of providing for his family and whatever needs he might be having. So he needs to have a stand. He needs to have a stand, and Kenya Kwanza seems to be the ground which is hosting him, because I suspect in Azimio the ground is full. The ground is full, and he chose that Kenya Kwanza is somewhere where he has to lodge, and he has been accepted. I don't see any problem with that, because if we start now pointing fingers, who hasn't gone against the interest of the public? Everyone else is joining sides. You can't sit back and do it and say you were waiting for things to happen. Nobody is going to help you out with anything.
But Gibson, we're talking about the National Assembly Speaker. The Parliament is still in session, and we have a couple of months before, perhaps a couple of months before it's dissolved. Is he going to be biased, or he can show bias? And actually there have been calls for him to resign, even from his party, one of the oldest parties we have in the country, that is DP.
At least you are saying that the time is ripe. The time is ripe for people to declare interest. What I understand about Muturi was a politician and comes from a region. You see, recently was inaugurated as the leader of DP. And he has to give direction. He has to give direction. So speaker or not speaker, he has to give direction. As to the issue of bias, that is a discussion we can have. It's neither here nor there, because where we are as a country, political-wise, somebody has got to declare a stand, and that's where he's coming from, and he needs to stand with something which he believes is going to secure the interest, his party interest, and his family interest, and the region where he comes from. So I think that is what he looked at and said, means say that I resign or not resign. Even if you tell me to resign now, I'm good.
Okay, let me bring in Alex Kindake. You are a member of one of the oldest parties in the country, that is Ford Kenya, and Ford Kenya being part of Kenya Kwanza. And now we would say you have fortified the coalition by bringing in the DP party leader and the Speaker of the National Assembly, Justin Muturi. With all fairness, isn't this something that can be interpreted that he will be now biased? He has taken sides. He should have waited at least until Parliament is dissolved so that he may decide to make such kind of move. A lot of Kenyans and leaders have talked about him resigning so that even from the party itself, the DP leadership wants him to resign because they say he did that behind their backs.
Thank you very much for inviting me to this show. My name is Kindake Alex Malova, and one thing that I want to tell you is that, as my brother just said, politics is all about interest. You have seen the president already declaring that he's going to support Azimio. And I think, and the president is the commander-in-chief.
Yes.
If he had decided to take side, then when you talk about our speaker, he has all the right also to decide and to declare, because he also has followers. He's a politician.
Yes.
And he has followers. And I think what is happening here is that one thing that you should know, the deputy president is a very smart politician. He's somebody that who knows what he's doing, and he wants to make sure that he has the best team, because right now as we are speaking is all about either you are in Azimio or you are in Kenya Kwanza. That is all. So what is happening now is all about the strategy that you are going to use, because the good thing about 2022 election, I think, is going to be the most peaceful election that you have never had before. That is what I can tell you.
Back to you, Gibson. You said you're also a UDA analyst. What exactly is a UDA analyst?
Just to tell you is the fact that I've looked at there is what is called the bottom up, which is still making people look so confused. It's been having people talk a lot. So what a UDA analyst does is to actually analyze what is beyond the name, what is beyond the name, and that is what is a UDA analyst, because that is the philosophy of UDA. Other than that, there is what these political formations which we are trying to have in place, and so far so good. I think there hasn't been a lot of noise from the UDA side. That is because UDA seems to have their act together. Azimio, I'm not so sure, because you can actually see them jumping up. Others are in, they want out. They're in the morning, in the evening, they're saying we want out. You know, that's not a kind of system which you can be able to trust and believe that once they take power, things are going to be normal. Because if they don't have the act right now, if they're not acting right now, I highly doubt that even if they take power, and the worst thing that can befall this country is having a system which is not organized. We have had a lot of problems with that. We need to get done with that. We need to have people who can be able to sit down and agree and forge the way forward.
Okay, Kindake, we're going to, before I bring you in, let's first of all hear the reactions of Jubilee Party Secretary General Jeremiah Kioni on the move that the Speaker of the National Assembly, Justin Bidan Muturi, took by joining Kenya Kwanza.
A person who believes in himself and a person who is would want to be genuine to Kenyans would quickly put in a resignation letter. To see him betraying the president at this hour, even when the writing is on the wall, I don't see any other form of dishonesty that we can go beyond that. Since 1963, this is the bunge that has performed the worst. And UNDA, this thing of wheelbarrow, was formed from the floor of the House since 1963. This is the bunge that has performed the worst. And UNDA, this thing of wheelbarrow, was formed from the floor of the House.
Alex, you will be vying for a political seat, right?
Yes.
Kindly tell Kenyans which political seat you will be vying for, because in his words, this is the worst parliament that has been there. And with all fairness, he has some right to say that. Looking at Kenya, we don't have fuel at the moment. The government is putting a brave face, saying that we have enough fuel. We've paid all people. But yesterday I was stuck in traffic for hours until some minutes past midnight. And Jeremiah Kioni is saying that this is a parliament that has not been able even to defend Kenyans or shield Kenyans. What is your say on that?
Okay, first I want to say that I'm going to run for as a member of Parliament Sabatia. And one thing that I can say, as from whatever that he's saying, he might be right. Because what has been happening, there have been a lot of interest. Because there's a way that the president and the deputy president, especially during this second time, they have not been working together. And normally when such people fight, the person who suffers is the common mwananchi. Because you see, when it comes to the kind of development that we have seen in the country, the president claimed that he is responsible for everything that have been taking place. But when it comes to the downfall, nobody's taking responsibility. That's the problem that we are having. And if you look at the deputy president is a very smart guy. For him, he has been working on how to become the next president. And the president has been working on his legacy. But on one way or the other, the president has betrayed the deputy president by bringing in the prime minister. But the prime minister has all the right. You know, in politics, you also have to be very smart. But one thing that I can tell you is that the next government, I'm not sure whether it's going to be Azimio or Kenya Kwanza, but I see Kenya Kwanza forming the next government. Because you see, when it comes to politics, you have to be smart, because what the deputy president has done, he has outsmarted them. That's why you see in Azimio they're a bit confused, because they thought that UDA will come along. And if you look at some of the members of UDA, they needed some sober people like Mheshimiwa Wetangula, Mheshimiwa Musalia Mudavadi. The reason why the deputy president brought in Mheshimiwa Mudavadi and Wetangula is not because of the votes. He needed some maturity in his government. And that's why you see he had decided to go for Speaker. And Speaker is a very smart guy. And is somebody who is very resourceful to the next level. That's why you see the Azimio people are complaining, because they really needed this guy. He's a very smart guy. I know that's a very resourceful guy for the Kenya Kwanza coalition. And the way things look is like to determine who's going to take over from President Uhuru Kenyatta is going to be very difficult because the deputy president has already outsmarted them. Because what the deputy president has done, he has even killed the ambition of some of the people who are supposed to run 2027. Because after Mheshimiwa Raila, who is the biggest competitor of the deputy president, the next biggest competitor for the deputy president 2027 could have been Musalia Mudavadi. But you see, the deputy president, he has already bring in the Musalia Mudavadi and to make sure that he controls.
But with all fairness, we've seen political game of political chairs always playing out, because looking at there's a time the DP and the Honorable Prime Minister Raila Odinga were buddies, even were in the same party. We've seen we didn't expect Uhuru and Raila to shake hands. Kenyans didn't expect that. So 2022 is quite far. But talking about killing those political ambitions, then it's killing political ambitions for so many people. This year,
true.
Musalia Mudavadi will not be vying as a president, let's be very honest.
For 2 terms.
Yes.
Yes.
And also JB, the speaker, will not be vying.
Yes, for 2 terms
His presidential dream and all what he had described and all his supporters now know that he has to now settle for the short end of the stick, because now he has joined Kenya Kwanza, and we know very well he will not vie now, and even his political party is wants to eject him, because he's saying he should resign, he shouldn't be our party leader, he went behind our back, and now he has ascribed to Kenya Kwanza, which we are not involved.
Yeah, you see, by the end of the day, I think that was the only option that was available, because speaker going for president, that is next to impossible. You don't have you don't have the numbers. There's an issue of numbers and resources.
Okay.
Our deputy president has the resources, and he's ready to spend. That's one thing that you should know. He has the resources and is ready to spend. If you look at Right Honorable Raila Odinga, he has the resources, but he don't want to spend. That's why you see the president is coming in to, that is what is happening.
But he's not here, at least unfortunately, you don't have an Azimio like Moja presidential or aspirant here, at least to kind of defend him. But away from that, perhaps we can look at the discord in parties. In Kenya Kwanza, we also have the same. Small parties are talking about being bulldozed by the bigger parties. It's the same problem in Azimio, to be fair. So, as an advocate, what would you advise? Because it seems like the big party are pushing out the small parties. We've seen Maendeleo Chap talking about now we need, and even Wiper leader talking about we need to relook at the fine print, what we signed. They're talking about there's some amendments that are being made behind our backs, and the same problem in your coalition. To be fair, how can we minimize that? And bearing in mind that we have the nominations, which are going to put a split. We've seen it's already happened.
Troy, thank you. Now, as Kenyans, I think these are very interesting times we are living in. Because this has, in the previous, it has happened, but in different context. But this time is when we are seeing it raw. And I think from where I see, it's a good thing. Because we are trying to shape the political future of a nation. So come 2027, we wouldn't be having these problems, because we'll have walked through them. We are trying to walk through our challenges, and that is a very good thing as a people, and defining our political landscape, which is also a very good thing. Now, as to the intrigues, of course intrigues have to be there. You know, politics is like a family. In a family, if you can have a family where there are no chaos, there are no squabbles, there are no kids fighting for the remote, there are no kids jumping up, then there would be fun.
Yes.
There wouldn't be any fun in that.
So it's quite healthy.
It's quite healthy, so that we have this, and then as the electorate, we are also able to gauge who stands for what. So if we are able to know who stands for what, then we are able to make an informed choice. Once we make an informed choice, then we will have a better country. Because honestly, everybody is fighting for a better country. It's good for the electorate, it's good for the country. But at the end of the day, also what we need to look at from the legal perspective is, I think we need now to put in the ramification. We need to put in the strategies to ensure that we avoid this. This is going to play to the aspect of now, once the new parliament is formed, we should be able to enact laws to avoid these issues. You remember last time we had a lot of problems also. That is where we have this particular dispensation. The political parties, the Election Act was amended to give IBC mandate to give timelines which are very clear, and that's, I think, what is making people, because they were kind of caught unawares. And also, you know, you are told jump into a coalition. This coalition, you have very few days to formalize it. There's no enough time. There's the distrust. You're not sure which one you should go for exactly. So that is, I think, what is causing all this problem. But on the other side, you try to look at the kind of these small parties. Are they small parties or small individuals? Because parties are more or less individuals. Because tell me a party which is not associated with a particular individual who's a politician. So we are trying to massage the egos of these particular individuals. And as a country, that's what we need to walk away from by forming this coalition, so that we have grand parties which can actually be able to have the face of Kenya. And there's the aspect of what Mheshimiwa incoming said, that you know, the political ambitions of some people has been killed. I think it's for the good. These guys were not actually, they were not actually serious fellas. They were not serious fellas, because, I mean, I don't want to mention names, but I mean, if you can quickly abandon your ambition and then join someone else, it means you didn't have any ambition in the first place.
Yes.
There was something which was putting them there, so that they start now moonlighting as they want to go for presidential. Talk of Muturi, talk of Mudavadi, talk of Wetangula. I mean, you are synonymous with the quote of whether the fifth. You know, the way even the photo which is portrayed, you clearly see that, I mean, this guy is not ready for presidency. So the only other thing was to join a formidable coalition to take care of his
hold the thoughts. We need to cross over to the ICT authority, who are holding a summit agenda. And talking about technology, Alex, you can dive in with this. The nomination exercise yesterday. I remember the Busia nominations.
Yes.
It so happened that the Kim's kits, some were not working. Some were brought in midday. Basically, there has been a shambolic exercise altogether, and a lot of dissatisfied Kenyans and aspirants. How do we tame discord when it comes to the nomination exercise? And a good example is a lot of people are objecting to the consensus. A good example is here in Nairobi, women rep Millie Omanga, some Omanga. They're talking about, no, we needed to go to the ballot. Let's not dish them out. What do you believe as a Ford Kenya staunch supporter?
Let me tell you something. One thing that you should also understand is that Kenyans, especially youth, they are very smart, especially when it comes to technology. Those guys who have gone to Kenyatta University and they have done IT, they can hack any bank. They can hack any system. That is one thing that you should know. And if you visit a country like Korea, you realize they employ those good hackers in the system to make sure that they protect the system. But in Kenya, when you talk about using that system in our election, definitely there'll be a lot of rigging. And that's why you see the last election, we had a lot of rigging. I prefer even doing things the manual way than using the technology. Technology is good because technology will save time, it's efficient, it has a lot of benefit. But for you to be able to use that kind of technology, you have to make sure that everything you put in place, there's protection, there's security, everything's okay. That's why you see they are talking about these. Those are very good things that can help our people get employment. But now, the biggest problem with our people is now how to implement. Lack of exposure. Look at a country like China. If you go to China, they know how to use technology. With the technology, you don't need capital. Look at Alibaba. People can be able to set up shops without stock, without investing. But in Kenya, if you look at the people that we front, those politicians, they talk a lot, but they have nothing. They don't know anything. They don't know how to do it. They'll just talk about bullfighting, whatever. But if you tell them how it's done, they don't know. Because those are not the things that will help the common mananchi.
Yeah.
We need to make sure that we train our youth. Our youth have gone to school. We have those who are skilled and unskilled. These are people who can make money while sitting at home. They can make use of their phones. You can just set up your shop without stock and start selling stuff instead of them idling there at home. But you see, the challenge that we are having when you talk about technology, we are launching very good ideas that should help our people. If you go, there's a time I was in Dubai and I attended a certain seminar, and they were saying Kenya, when it comes to technology, they were saying the people who are giving them problem when it comes to hacking those banks are Kenyans. They are very smart. But if we can be able to use that kind of skill, that kind of knowledge, so that they can be able to help our people. Because our youth have gone to school, they have nothing to do, and they end up doing those crimes. So one thing that I can tell you, the idea is good. But now it's going to depend how we are going to implement it.
Okay, and still okay, perhaps away from the technology bit, the nominations. In both camps, the Kenya Kwanza and Azimio, there are disgruntled members who are talking about just don't hand over the nomination certificates.
No, that's
Let's
normal.
go to the ballot.
That is
What's
normal.
your take on
In
this?
politics, I can tell you one thing. If you go to ODM Nyanza, they'll have a problem because they have so many strong candidates. If you go to UDA, right now, if you visit Eldoret, you'll find, I was in Eldoret yesterday, so many posters, so many strong candidates. And those guys, they are really spending heavily. You'll see Dr. Ruto's photo everywhere. They have strong candidates. If you go to even Central, UDA is really doing very well, and Jubilee. But I think UDA is leading. So one thing that I can tell you, this is, you see, for me, I strongly believe that I'm going to be the next member of parliament for Sabatia. That is what I believe, 100%. If it's like, if somebody comes and tell me that my opponent has won, the thing is, I'll say that I've been rigged. This is Kenya. That is how we do it. Yes.
And if they decide, because you actually, it is the same constituency where ANC party leader hails from, right? And there are ANC and Ford Kenya, you are both in Kenya Kwanza. What if they decide to do a consensus? Will you accept it, or you want to go to the ballot?
Let me tell you, in politics, there are two things, especially the party leader, what they do. They first of all give the first priority to the people who are very loyal to the party. That is very important. That is what you see, like ODM, that is what they are doing. Because you see, there are those people that you are sure that I can give you an example of somebody like Dr. Kidero. Dr. Kidero is somebody, given the ODM ticket, definitely will win. But that guy will win, then after election, he will jump to another party. So those are some of the things that the party leaders are trying to avoid. They know very well that if I give this person a ticket, he will win. But after election, then number two, we're in the same camp with Uda, isn't it? But we're also very careful because they are very smart and dangerous. Just
the
want
same
to be
coalition?
Yes, the same coalition.
Yes.
But we have to be very smart.
Distrust.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because what will happen, we need people who will fight for Mheshimiwa Musalia Mudavadi and Mheshimiwa Wetangula. Because we cannot just bring coward there, because these guys, you see the way they are talking, you just heard from him saying, you just heard.
And it's a good thing that you've brought about that, because the first thing you talked about, there's a lot of discord in parties, because Party A does not believe, Party B does not trust Party C, and then Party D wants something that Party A doesn't want Party D to do. And we have the same discord in Kenya Kwanza, as you've heard from your colleague there. The political parties dispute tribunal will be quite busy, if you ask me. Quite busy. You're an advocate of the High Court. And the nominations, as we have started seeing them, they're going to bring about so many petitions and people jumping ship. How do we tame the discord in parties when it comes to nominations that are currently underway?
The only way we can be able to tame, if at all we can, is by first ensuring that there is consensus. There's nothing which can beat consensus, and that's what I think UDA is trying to do, or the Kenya Kwanza coalition is trying to do. I'm surprised that my friend is actually pointing fingers already.
It's a good thing, that's why I've directed
I wonder if he was in Azmio, what he would be talking about. We are trying to have our act together here, but still, of course, there will always be cheaters, distrust, and such like. That is healthier, and that's what I said earlier, that this is good for the country, because we're able to know to what limit can Troy go. To secure his interests, so that we know where to place him.
Yes.
Yes, if he doesn't speak or doesn't come out that strongly, we wouldn't be able to. He will just be quiet. We give him whatever we tell him, well, stop running, and then later we hear he has problems. And that is what we don't want. It's better we have problems now rather than have them later.
Yeah.
Yes, so this is the best time to have them. Though the time is limited, we'll have to work with the time that there is. You've talked of the political parties tribunal, a very interesting thing. So what I'm anticipating is, because is a situation whereby the political parties tribunal will have to work overnight to deal with some of these challenges. Because if they're not sorted now, at the end of the day, somebody will need to be appeased by a fair tribunal, and that would be the political parties tribunal. So because, I mean, you just talked about, it was in Eldoret the other day, you walk around the country, you will see people have invested. People have invested. A friend of mine invested and colored the whole town red with the Azimio thing, but he lost the nominations. And the guy is now, I don't know, I've tried to call him, I can't reach him. You see, it's painful. But then, what do? It's not about you. It's about a bigger goal. That's where, as the Kenya Kwanza, we are trying to ensure that if you come in, have you come in? What do you expect? Let's sit down and agree. Because you're not the only one. We have several people here. So that we try to minimize these things of going to court, of trying to create distrust, people negotiating through the press. Somebody has signed an agreement, is again busy out there saying, I don't think I'm comfortable, so that he can try to have some leverage, which is not okay. If we come to our side, we just have to sit down and agree and find a way forward.
Let's pick up the pace now. Looking at NCIC, and Kenya Kwanza was objected to the fact that NCIC did release a number of words that you cannot use during political gatherings, like Sipangwingwi and Utajua Hujui. As a coalition, don't you think this is watering down what NCIC is trying to do? Yes, of course, it has been called the toothless dog, but we don't need to rub it in to the point that your coalition leader, even actually a day after that, he has a song on the same words that have been red flagged.
I think what is happening, if you look,
need to strengthen NCIC, don't you think?
Yeah, because you see what is happening. I think if you look at the government, the government is supporting Azimio. That one I can tell you for sure. And Kenya Kwanza is very aggressive. It has young and sharp people who can take this country to the next level. And what they are trying to do, they are trying to make sure that they control, especially the youth. That is what Kenya Kwanza are doing. Because they understand the problem that the youth are going through. So what Kenya Kwanza is doing is making sure that first of all, for you to be able to bring all these youth together, you must speak their language. So that is what the government is trying to do. The government wants to make sure that youth don't follow the Kenya Kwanza. That's what whatever that is happening is, or the war is against the Kenya Kwanza.
But of course, if the shoe was on the other leg, you would be saying the same thing. But looking at the structure, like an institution like NCIC, they've been told that, yes, they don't have the prosecution powers, but we need to strengthen it so that we may avert some of the things that we've seen in a previous election in 2017, in 2007, and just keep recurring if we go back to previous years. Perhaps, Wakil, you can chip in with that.
I think, in all fairness, I did mention about NCIC in the last show last Tuesday, because from where I sit, NCIC is a pack of cowards who don't know what they're doing.
But it's a government
It is a government institution, but I think it does not have the right people at the top, because we need to see more from them. But these side shows of them trying to come up with some list of names, you see, even the aspect of gazetting those names didn't follow the law. If I show up with a story, I can assure you, if I show up with a petition at Milimani High Court tomorrow, that move will be thrown away and they'll be back to the drawing board. So it's kind of, they're jumping, they don't know what they're doing.
But with all fairness, all the words that the NCIC talked about were not directed to a certain coalition. It's all the politicians, including you and me, we decide to be politicians.
It's not about that. It's not about that. It's the intention behind it. Because in law, we look at the intention, the mischief. What is the mischief behind it? These guys are trying to twist you through one hand and tell you now you can proceed. It's a fair competition. It's not. That is why I tell you, because the other reason, I need to tell you why I said that if I show up with a petition in Milimani, I will have to throw whatever action they made out of the window, and I wonder what they will be remaining with, because that's the only thing. I think they want to look relevant, but using the wrong media. And it's because there's no public participation. Our constitution is very big on public participation. Whom did they consult to come up with those things? What is the process they went through to come up with the gazetting of those names that, you know, they are not good names to be used? It's only that what we can actually tell or see is that it's one side which has been using those words, or everyone else is using. The other day we saw what happened with the Azimio leader. He spoke some things which other people had been prosecuted about, and he got off with nothing. He's like, no, that is okay. It seems like my brother said the government is supporting Azimio by all means, and is able even to cover them by using state agencies. And that is very wrong. That is the intention. That's the mischief we don't need to have. Let's have a fair playing field across for everyone. But you cannot legislate to stop someone from aspiring or thinking or trying to achieve his individual or political interest. That's very wrong.
Back to Ford Kenya, Alex, and your party leader had, of course, a long time ago showed interest that he wants to be the next head of state, and now we've joined Kenya Kwanza. We don't know what exactly he's going to get, if at all Kenya Kwanza will be forming the next government. And you're also going head-to-head with a very formidable opponent in Sabatia, which is one of the, actually the constituency of ANC party leader. Care to comment on that?
I think in Kenya Kwanza, when you look at ANC and Ford Kenya, we are brothers. We don't fight. So the only thing that I can tell you, when you talk about our party leader, Mheshimiwa Wetangula, yes, he had a vision of becoming the next president of this country. You know, Mheshimiwa Wetangula is somebody who is very learned. He has gone to school. He has all that it takes. He has experience. He has exposure. But for the sake of this country, he decided that he wants to support Mheshimiwa William Ruto, because from his word, he said that comparing Mheshimiwa William Ruto and Honorable Raila Odinga, he feels that Honorable William Ruto, our Deputy President, is honest. He's somebody who keeps his word. And that's why we decided, and you see, as a party, we always follow the direction of our party leader. So he told us that what we are going to do, we are going to support Kenya Kwanza, and that is what we are doing. So the only thing that we are doing right now, we also want to make sure that the manifesto that we had and their manifesto we come together, we come up with something that will help, because they don't understand the problems that people of Western Kenya are going through. You know, there we are farmers, people are struggling, there's lack of employment. So what we want to do, we want to come together, we reason together, we come up with something that can help Kenyans. And
still on Sabatia, if at all they decide, as a coalition decide, we will consensus to perhaps grant the ANC.
No, when it comes to consensus, it's not about ANC or a party. It's about a leader who can take as our people to the next level. It's not about...
You want to oust the current sitting MP. Why is that?
No, the current MP is a very good friend of mine, Honorable Goi. You know, before I was going for the governor,
Okay.
And we had an agreement as between Ford Kenya and ANC. We agreed I go for Sabata seat, and then my current MP is going for governor. That was an agreement, and I think because of the age and experience, I agreed on that because it's something that I sacrifice. But definitely I assured my people, who will be picked, whether our guy or somebody from Azimia, because by the end of the day, it's all about our people. I'm going to support who will come in because of the kind of experience I have and the kind of exposure. I've worked in a number of countries. So I decided who will be picked as the new governor, we will work together.
How do you want to change the constituency?
Not the constitution. What happened? I was going for governor seat. So I decided to change. I came to the member of parliament, Sabata. So that is what happened. So then I went back to my people, I explained to them, and they agreed.
Okay.
Yes.
So for now is the MP, but you still hold the ambitions of being a governor?
I still hold the ambition, because what I decided, because whatever that I was doing for the people.
Okay.
So what I decided to do is that I decided that I will share all the idea and all the contact that I had to whoever who will be picked. It's just like what we are doing with UDA. You know, Ford Kenya, ANC, they had their own ideas. If you look at someone like Musalia Mudavadi is somebody who has a lot of experience when it comes to finance, and is a very smart guy. I'm sure the reason why the deputy president went to Musalia Mudavadi is not because of votes. It's because of the experience and what he has. Okay. Even Mheshimiwa Wetangula. And that's the same thing that he has done to the speaker.
Okay.
He's a very smart guy. That's why I told you we have to make sure that we're also very careful. We don't just rush because the deal is good.
Okay.
Yes.
And Gibson, looking at the running mate factor, it has caused jitters in both coalitions, including your own Kenya Kwanza. And it is threatening the core foundation of these coalitions. And how is it supposed to change, or how will it change the political landscape, and especially after these nominations?
For our side, speaking for our side, I think we don't expect to have so much problems because it's very clear whoever came in knows how he came in. So it will still be a consensus thing. You see the way the Kenya Kwanza solved the issue of Nairobi, solved the issue in Kakamega. That is the same way the Dr. Ruto is going to actually pick his running mate. But then we need to also be smart about it. It's talked of our side being smart, which I totally agree, because you cannot claim to be smart when you don't do smart things. So we're trying to minimize all the hula balloons, people jumping up, and ensuring that we actually have sober-headed people who are able to work towards winning. Not
you guys work closely with the deputy president. Have you perhaps had a conversation on who will be the running mate, or still holding your cards close to your chest?
I don't think we are allowed to speak that.
Okay, I thought it was a leading question. Yes.
I think what is happening, the biggest problem is always with the supporters. Not even with principles. I think the principles, they have already agreed. But now you can see what our brothers from Mount Kenya are doing. They are preparing their people, whether we get the deputy president or not. The most important thing is all about whatever that we are going to do to our people. Even Mheshimiwa Musalia Mudavadi, that is what he's doing. It's not about the position. It's about what I'm going to do for you guys. That is what you're doing. So with that's the most important thing. Yeah, you just have to make sure that you communicate to people.
All right, and because of the interest of time, let's touch something that is affecting all Kenyans, looking at the battered economy, looking at the fuel shortage. Of course, the Ukraine war is not making things any better. We are just from quite something that nobody ever imagined, the COVID-19 pandemic. And now we have the drought situation and politics as well. As we wrap up,
Troy, that you have really touched where I really wanted to talk about. You see, as a country, much as we are talking politics, we also need to deal with the current situation the way it is. And before we got on set, you remember we were talking about how nobody is speaking to the fuel crisis.
Yes.
Fuel crisis is everything. Fuel is everything. And I mean, if you touch fuel, you have touched every household. You have touched every family. And everybody is affected. And the fact that our members of parliament actually cannot actually raise a question about that, it's really appalling from my side. And what I want to say is that we need to look and be more focused about what affects Mwananchi. What I'm seeing right now is the aspect of people, of course, trying to coalesce and be able to form the next government. But of course, there is an immediate problem, which is eating our people in the northeastern. People are dying, cows are dying. And these people, we may not have people to vote if we don't deal with the situation right now. You compound it with the fuel crisis, it's going to be problems. You may not have our people to lead. So I think I'm calling upon the leaders, please, let's ensure
handle the situation
immediately despite the politics.
Yes, as you end up.
Yeah, I think I agree with my colleague here. One thing that you should know, with fuel, it controls the price of each and every commodity. Right now, the price of everything has gone high. People are suffering. Even moving goods from Nairobi to other regions is difficult. So I think what should happen right now, I think the president should first of all concentrate on this issue. That is the most important thing. Because even there are some people who are taking advantage. I was in Sabatia yesterday. There are people who are selling fuel at 250, 350
and even sometimes at the roadside.
Yes, that is what is happening. And you see, most of our youth...
You even wonder where they got it.
Yeah, most of our youth, you see, they depend on this border thing. Now they are jobless. And you see that one can even end up even them going to this issue about crime, whatever. So what we need to do, the president and the deputy president, they should first of all address this. This is more important than even the election. And I think, we don't know, you see some people are suspecting maybe there's somebody who's trying to sabotage the government or whatever. These are the issues that we have to address first. Yes.
Indeed, thank you so much. That has been Alex Kindake, and as you can see, he's quite dressed. He is a Ford Kenya member, and he will be vying for the Saboti constituency member of parliament. Sabatia.
That's the homeland of Sabatia,
where the ANC party leader hails from. And of course, we had Gobson Gisore, who is an advocate of the High Court of Kenya and also a lecturer in our local university. He's also a UDA analyst. We are trying to put things into perspective when it comes to the political landscape that we have in the country, not to mention nominations that are currently underway in various parts of this country. Thank you so much for watching, but don't go away. As I had told you earlier, is that in the second hour, we are looking at the Form 1 placement, and we have a scientist, Dr. Mark Marunga, who will be joining me on set to discuss that matter. Thank you so much for watching. Let's take a quick break, then we'll be right back.